Have you ever just stood there and watched a woodpecker going to town on a tree and wondered, what is actually going on in that little head? Well, it turns out it is not just random pecking, not at all. It's this amazing story about energy, physics, and straight-up survival. Okay, let's get into it. So let's ask the big question right up front. Why do they really do it? Are they just trying to be annoying? Sharpen their beaks, maybe? Nope. The common ideas are almost always wrong. The real reason is so much more calculated, and frankly, a whole lot cooler. It all boils down to this one single thing, a high-stakes energy calculation. Every single thing a woodpecker does, from how it clings to a tree to wide drilling into your fence post, it's all governed by a simple, brutal math. It has to get more calories than it burns, period. And that brings us to their big energy secret. See, to really understand a woodpecker, you first have to appreciate the incredible physical demands they are under every single day. And these are demands that are completely different from pretty much any other bird you're going to see in your yard. Okay, so take a look at this. It really puts it all into perspective. On one side, you've got a perching bird, like a sparrow. Its life is pretty easy. It just sits on a branch, super low energy, and pecks at seeds that are right there. But a woodpecker? It's in a constant full-body workout. Just clinging vertically to a tree trunk takes nonstop muscle power. And then the actual digging, that burns a crazy amount of calories. Now, the key to this whole vertical lifestyle is this incredible adaptation, zygodactyl feet. That's 2 toes pointing forward and 2 pointing back. This gives them this ridiculously powerful vice-like grip. But it's not just the feet. They also use their super stiff tail feathers as a prop, kind of like the third leg of a tripod. Holding that pose is unbelievably energy intensive. So, if they're burning all this energy, what's the big payoff? Well, this is where we have to totally reframe how we think about them. That woodpecker hammering away isn't a pest. No way. It's actually your yard's resident pest control, and it's hunting the things that are actually causing the damage. This quote right here, it just says it all. The bird is not causing the damage. It is revealing a pre-existing infestation. Think about that. If a woodpecker is making deep, messy-looking holes in your house or your deck, it's not the problem. It's basically a feathered diagnostic tool, pointing and saying, hey, you've got a problem right here. And that problem is almost always carpenter ants or some kind of wood-boring beetle. And their hunting technique, it is so precise. This is not random banging. First, they tap and they listen. They're using sound to detect the hollow galleries that insects carve out inside the wood. Once they locate one of those galleries, they pinpoint the nest. And then, only then, do they start the really hard, high-energy work of drilling to get to that protein-packed meal. This specialization is just incredible. For example, a study in the Journal of Field Ornithology found that for the northern flicker, that's a really common woodpecker you often see hopping on lawns, ants make up over 99% of their diet. They have this amazing tongue that can shoot out 4 centimeters past their bill to slurp up ants and larvae from deep underground. It's wild. Okay, so let's shift gears and get practical. Now that we understand what drives them, this need for energy, we can actually build the perfect feeding station that works for them instead of against them. First things first, forget the standard birdseed mix. Woodpeckers are built for fat and protein. That's why suet, which is just rendered beef fat, is the absolute #1 thing to put out. It perfectly mimics the high-energy grubs and larvae they hunt for. Shelled peanuts are another powerhouse for fat and protein. Regular birdseed, it just doesn't have the caloric punch they need to make the effort worthwhile. And here are a few pro tips for you. Once the temperature gets above 70 degrees Fahrenheit or about 21 Celsius, you've got to switch to a no-melt suet dough. Regular suet can get soft and smear on their feathers, which is really dangerous for them. And if you're getting raided by starlings, get an upside-down feeder. Woodpeckers have no problem clinging and eating upside down, but starlings can't. Oh, and if you have red-bellied woodpeckers around, try putting out half an orange. They absolutely love them. All right, let's talk about the big one, that loud rattling noise on your house first thing in the morning. What is that all about? It's time to learn how to decode the drumming and figure out what the woodpecker is actually trying to say. The key is knowing the difference between hunting and communicating. It's simple, really. Hunting holes are deep, they're kind of messy, and you can see they're following a path. That's for food. Drumming, on the other hand, is all about communication. It's a shallow, super fast, rhythmic tapping, and they specifically pick surfaces that are loud and resonant, like your metal gutter or siding. That's not about food, That's a bird shouting, "This is my turf, stay away."
So, now that we understand them, we can actually go a step further. By making just a few simple changes in our own yards, we can go from just being people who feed birds to becoming actual ecosystem engineers.
And this brings us to probably the single most powerful thing you can do. It's called the 36-month deadwood rule. If you have a dead tree, a snag, and it's not a danger to your house, just leave it there. After a woodpecker is done using it for a nest, that cavity becomes prime real estate. Leaving it standing for at least 3 more years gives a whole bunch of other species the time they need to find it and move in.
You see, woodpeckers are what biologists call a keystone species. Their old nest holes create homes for a whole community of other wildlife. A study in PLOS-1 confirmed that birds like mountain bluebirds and tree swallows, and even small owls and bats, all depend on these ready-made homes. So by helping one woodpecker, you're creating this amazing cascading benefit for the entire local ecosystem.
So the next time you see a woodpecker, don't just see a bird. See a high-energy athlete, a master pest control expert, and a home builder for dozens of other animals. Your yard isn't just a patch of grass. It's a living, breathing habitat. The only question left is, what are you going to build with it?